be honest, kinda ran into a wall this month. It's been tough staying afloat while finishing tour and the special. By the time it came to do the podcast this month, I had nothing left in the tank. When guest composer Karima Walker sent me some initial pieces of score, I despaired. They were so beautiful and gave ideas I couldn't adequately follow through on in the amount of time we had. So, we will do an incredible episode about local music stores next month. And for this month, that's it. Good night. Alright, sorry to joke. You gotta get to sleep, so I've got another idea. Since I did the original sleep special, I've received a number of comments along the lines of, I could listen to you read the menu. Pretty much anything. So this month, let's put that to the test. In addition to the many tomato knickknacks I received on tour, I keep a lot of books and articles around in my basement. Should probably get rid of them. But when my attention starts to wane while writing, I figure it's better to poke around some book than the internet. In a creative rut, I will occasionally turn to poetry, but more likely, I'm opening up the World Encyclopedia of Fruit to see where limes come from. I turn to the citrus section and it says, India. Attempts were made to grow them in Mediterranean countries, but they proved insufficiently hardy. They do very well in Egypt, however, where they are more plentiful than lemons. Should I keep going? It continues. There are basically 3 types of lime. Tahitian, large limes with pale, fine-grained pulp and a very acidic flavor. Mexican, a smaller fruit with bright green skin and very aromatic flavor. Key lime, pale yellowish green fruit, very juicy with a strong sharp flavor. And Kaffir limes, which are not true limes. Kaffir limes are not eaten, but the finely grated rind is used in Southeast Asian cooking. Sometimes the answer to writer's block is some fun facts, an attractive picture of oranges, and to learn about a new type of exotic fruit like guruba, also called banana passion fruit. I really hope to do an episode of the TV show where me and Gene try exotic fruits and describe the flavors to one another, but what are you gonna do? While working on my bathroom book, I bought a set of the Practical Encyclopedia of Good Home Decorating and Home Improvement, published in the 70s, that I enjoy a lot. There's some truly wild stuff in there. Say what you want about covering an entire living room wall with wood shingles. They weren't afraid of taking risks back then. Color either. A scourge of white and gray is spreading. I grabbed volume 17, opened it, and here's what it has to say about texture. Texture is the music of surfaces, and the notes are many and distinct. The smoothness of silk, the prickliness of burlap, the deep glow of polished wood, the cool irregularity of fieldstone. These are just a few of the great number of textural voices that can be orchestrated to provide rich and satisfying harmonies in decorating. No one dares go this hard writing about modern decorating, or modern decorating. The Property Brothers just want to paint your brick fireplace white and there's nothing you can do about it. Sorry. To see these photos of what is possible in a home but now forsaken gets me going. Why aren't we taking bigger swings? Bigger swings and bigger falls. There is also an article by my desk that I had printed out titled 5 Largest Slip and Fall Cases in History. I think it's because I search for biggest blooper of all time. It's fun in theory, but I should probably skip reading it. Everyone got good settlements, but many got severely injured. You don't need to think about falling into holes before bed. I should probably throw it out, but I do have a hard time getting rid of things. That's why I have an 18-volume set of home decorating books. I also have a set of encyclopedias on the supernatural, and it's a wonderful place to poke around for ideas. Here's a segment titled Man Wallaby in the section about animals. In Australia, even today, when an Aborigine say he is, for example, wallaby, he means what he says. He and the wallaby species are one flesh. Except in special circumstances, he does not kill or eat a wallaby, and he and his group are responsible for carrying out the rituals which ensure a plentiful supply of wallabies for everyone else. This is because he and the wallabies are descended from the same ancestor, a hero long ago who was both a man and a wallaby. If that doesn't inspire some ideas, I don't know what will. And the series includes a wide range of beliefs throughout history. Volume 1 has bits about All Hallows Eve, alphabet, altar, and a section on the properties of the aloe plant. I enjoyed the part in the angels section titled Wing Measurements, which quotes Crawford H. Greenwald's approximation of how large an angel's wings would need to be, assuming a weight of 150 pounds. Of course. The wing from wrist to tip would be about 4 feet long, its total length between 6 and 7 feet. When folded neatly into the body, the end of the wing would come just below the knee, comfortable enough for perching and walking. The wings would beat about once every second, a nice easy rhythm, not too far from a normal walking pace. The wings would, however, be heavy, perhaps a quarter of the weight of the body, and alas, here lies the rub. The human frame hasn't the pectoral muscles to drive such formidable gear. Human pectorals are barely 5% of the total body weight, and a reasonable aerial job would call for at least 15%. And passage. Now that's something to think about before bed. Angels with enormous pecs. That'd be something. Pecs so big they comprise 15% of body mass. More practically, I have the printed out Wikipedia article about drown-proofing on the wall next to my desk. It reads, Drown-proofing was developed by swimming coach Fred Lanoux. It was first taught in 1940. His method was so successful that it gained national recognition, and Georgia Tech soon made it a requirement for graduation until 1988. I wonder what happened then. The U.S. Navy also took interest and adopted it as part of their standard training. It is claimed that during Lanou's time teaching at Tech from 1936 to 1964, he taught drown-proofing to some 20,000 students. Once they had mastered the drown-proofing technique, students learned to stay afloat with their wrists and ankles bound, swim 50 yards, 46 meters, underwater, and retrieve diving rings from the bottom of the pool using their teeth. Continuing on, in drown-proofing terminology, the great majority of people are floaters. That is to say that, with the lungs fully inflated, they have slightly less specific gravity than water and will not start to sink until they exhale. An average floater has 3 to 4 pounds of positive buoyancy in fresh water. Sinkers can also benefit from a modified technique, but will find it more difficult to learn and will probably need specialized coaching. wondering if I am a sinker or floater myself. I don't know why I printed it and put it up for reference. Drownproofing sounds like the title of a Netflix film where Jennifer Lopez stars as a Navy SEAL torn between duty and horny. Similarly pessimistic, Ryan sent me a speech written for Richard Nixon in the case that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin did not survive the moon landing. From Bill Sapphire, July 18th, 1969. In the event of moon disaster. Sorry, I should preface it by saying that I'm not going to do a Nixon impression. Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace. These brave men, Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin, know that there is no hope for their recovery, but they also know that there is hope for mankind in their sacrifice. These two men are laying down their lives in mankind's most noble goal, the search for truth and understanding. They will be mourned by their families and friends. They will be mourned by the nation. They will be mourned by the people of the world. They will be mourned by Mother Earth that dared send two of her sons into the unknown. In their exploration, they stirred the people of the world to feel as one. In their sacrifice, they bind more tightly the brotherhood of man. In ancient days, men looked up at the stars and saw their heroes in the constellations. In modern times, we do the same, but our heroes are epic men of flesh and blood. Others will follow and surely find their way home. Man's search will not be denied. But these men were the first, and they will remain the foremost in our hearts. For every human being who looks up at the moon in the nights to come will know that there is some corner of another world that is forever mankind. Well, I'm glad no one had to read that for real. That reminds me, on my computer desktop, underneath some other photos, I keep a screenshot of a quote by Picasso. Asked by a French newspaper about the moon landing in 1969, he responded, "It means nothing to me. I have no opinion about it, and I don't care." It always makes me laugh. I wanted to end by reading something nice, and I knew I had found just the thing when I picked up an issue of the Portland Press Herald in Maine. There's an article on the front page with the headline, "Weather isn't expected to dampen yields of Maine's wild blueberries." The article by Hannah LeClaire goes, "Growers anticipate a robust season despite challenges thrown at them earlier in the year." News doesn't get more positive than this. Maine's commercial blueberry harvesters are anticipating a strong season despite an inauspicious start. The state's signature fruit has proven resilient. Last year's drought conditions stressed the plants in the first of their 2-year cultivation cycle, slowing and stunting the growth of some. Then, several frosts, including one in mid-May, wiped out several low-lying blueberry fields entirely. Some worried that heavy rain in June and July would be another strike against blueberries, and that growers could face the same disappointing start to the season as strawberry farmers. And while the rain did delay some blueberries from turning their eponymous blue, the rain has primarily been a boon for both the thirsty berries and their farmers. This was perfect timing for the blueberries. They love rain, said Lily Calderwood, wild blueberry specialist for the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. Following a strong bloom Calderwood said she expected a bumper crop this year until the spring frost threatened to upend the season. But with all the rain, the berries, which could have been small after last year's drought, plumped right up. Heavier berries mean more money in the per-pound business. See berries, page A6. I think the rain we had made up for some of the loss we had from the frost event, she said. Wild blueberries are grown in a 2-year production cycle that alternates between a prune year and a crop year, according to the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. Following the harvest in late summer, plants are pruned to the ground by mowing or burning. The following year, the stem, leaves, and buds grow. Then, in the second year, the plants bloom and produce berries. Then the cycle repeats. Wild blueberry farmers typically split their acreage between the 2 cycles in order to harvest a crop every year. It's too early to say what will happen next year, but Calderwood said the rain bodes well for the next harvest. It will likely give enough blueberries, enough energy and resources to make for healthier and fuller buds. Quality looks good. Bruce Hall, director of agroecology at Wyman's, was skeptical heading into the harvest season, but he's been pleasantly surprised by the high quality of fruit he's seen, both from their own fields and from the approximately 450 farms they buy from. With 18,000 acres, Wyman's is the second largest wild blueberry grower in the state. They lost a few fields to the frost, but it won't have a substantial impact on the business, Hall said. The June rains helped with the fruit sizing, and the recent cooling temperatures and lower humidity will help the blueberries stay in peak condition. Their quality deteriorates as it gets hotter. While the rain has ultimately been positive, Hall stressed that in farming, nothing is ever black and white. The hot, wet conditions in June and July introduced a significant amount of leaf disease to the crop, which can increase the plant's vulnerability to drought conditions if weather patterns change and the current drier spell continues. Wyman's will harvest through mid-September, and in the meantime, Hall said they will focus on plant health, recovering from frost. For Sonia Howard, whose family owns Rhoda's Blueberries and Hope, the saving grace this year was a sunny pollination season. The bees worked hard during that time, so the blossom was good, she said. We got a lot of rain, but the blueberries had already set. The real challenge was that late frost, which killed about 15 acres of blueberry fields. Howard says they were lucky. The 15 acres were only a fraction of the 162-acre farm that they were insured. Other farmers with lower-lying fields lost a lot more. Brodus was still able to turn things around in time for the harvest season, which started July 22nd and will likely wrap up by August 6th. Overall, Howard is optimistic. Our yield is average, and the weather has been cooperating. It's coming along pretty well, she said. Lisa Hanscom, who owns Welch Farm in Roque Bluffs, has had a love-hate relationship with the rain this year. Welch Farm was lucky to escape the frost, but Hanscom said the rain and subsequent lack of sun set back the ripening. They were growing, but they weren't turning blue, she said. Because of this, Hanscom won't start harvesting until Wednesday, more than a week later than usual. But last year's drought was the bigger problem. Last season's berries didn't grow well, and while customers enjoyed the more intense flavor of the smaller berries, their weight didn't add up to much. On the heels of that, she's been happy to see the rain. Roller coaster yields. Maine is one of the world's hubs for wild blueberries, and the only U.S. state where they are commercially harvested. There are approximately 480 wild blueberry farms that range in size from 20 acres to thousands of acres. The size of Maine's wild blueberry harvest dropped by 26%, or 27.5 million pounds in 2022 after a near record harvest the previous year, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Last year's crop was valued at $55.5 million, down from $80.3 million in 2021. Experts expected similar results to the 2021 bounty of 104 million pounds, but following a perfect storm of poor weather conditions, harvesters eked out just 77.6 million pounds last year. The state's all-time peak was 110 million pounds in 2000. Last year's drop isn't necessarily a harbinger of a declining blueberry industry. Harvest data has been all over the map in the last 10 years, with a low of 47.4 million pounds in 2020 and a high of 104.4 million pounds in 2014. Over the last decade, the weight has averaged out to about 82.1 million pounds. Still, blueberries are especially dependent on weather, and for some farmers, basing their livelihood around the colorful fruits is becoming more challenging in the face of climate change. More droughts, late frost, the disappearance of pollinators like honeybees, heavy rain, and other changes in weather patterns make the growing season hard to predict. The vast majority of Maine's wild blueberries are frozen. The fresh market fetches a much higher price per pound, but only about 5% to 10% of the harvested berries are sold in the fresh market, said Calderwood, the Maine blueberry specialist. Both Hanscom and Howard have had to diversify their income streams and are working to increase their fresh market and retail offerings. Welsh Farm has been in Hanscom's family since 1912. Over the years, she's boosted the farm's involvement in agro-tourism, adding rental cabins and farm tours. The farm is right on the ocean, with a picturesque view and stunning sunsets from one of the fields, so Hanscom is toying with the idea of renting the space for marriage proposals and intimate weddings. She's also working to increase their retailed offerings like jams, jellies, and wreaths. Rhoda's Blueberries is also a long-time family-run operation, with 9 generations working in the fields, Howard said. She hopes to see more. They have a distillery in the barn where they make spirits out of blueberries and other fruits. They offer cocktails Thursday through Saturday, and bottles of the alcohol are also for sale. What we're working on is more value-added products like jams and pies, to increase the overall profits of the farm so that hopefully this generation doesn't have to be the one that sells it, she says. Well, I hope these readings were interesting but did the trick and that you're feeling sleepy. Big episode next month about local music shops with Karima Walker. Music by Ryan Dan. Produced by Grant Farsi for Chestnut Walnut. Thank you for making this podcast possible with your support on Patreon, but especially this month to Links R, Connor E, and Dylan H. Good night. name is Joe Pera, and I'm sorry that you're having trouble dozing off. That's why I made you this show. Because in my opinion, falling asleep is one of the best feelings there is. Even better than harmonizing with your boys. Oh, you like my new sweater? I'm trying to do more style. Anyhow, I figured we could maybe explore some mildly interesting subjects, such as how come people don't cheer after every firework? Or perhaps do a guided meditation to help visualize yourself as a grandparent? Or well, anything that will help relax you into sleep and keep your mind off of the day-to-day worries that make you anxious. Like remembering to refill the ice cube trays and race relations. For example, I was thinking about this while shoveling earlier. When Stephen Hawking cheated on his wife, she must have felt pretty sad. It was a terrible thing to do, and I don't want to defend him, but try thinking about it from his perspective for a moment. He spends all day thinking about the universe and how big it is. How our star, the sun, is just one of dozens of stars in the galaxy, which is just one of dozens of galaxies in the known universe, all set against handfuls and handfuls of time. If one guy cheats on his wife, what's the big deal? Thinking further down the same line of thought, however, if we're so tiny and insignificant, if you're able to find one person in the entire universe who cares about you, why would you want to disappoint them? So ladies, if we get married, I promise I won't cheat on you. That said, good luck locking down this Bengal tiger. I ain't going to the zoo so easy. Just kidding. I can't wait to go to the zoo. Speaking of marriage, did you know that the phrase tying the knot is a reference to how they used to use pretzels in Swiss wedding ceremonies a while ago? Here's some images of pretzels being made that I'd like to watch. There are a lot of pretzel factories in central Pennsylvania. Chips too. That's why it's often referred to as the snack belt. Amongst a few counties, there's Lutz's Pretzels and Chips, Hers Pretzels and Chips, and of course, Snyder's of Hanover. Another important contribution the Pennsylvania Dutch made to the region are their beautiful barns. Like this one. And this one. And this one. And this one. This round barn, called a spring house, was designed to keep milk cool in the summer. It's one of my favorites. Okay, I apologize. I was just kidding. These aren't barns from central Pennsylvania, but barns from central New York. I try to keep a sense of humor about these neglected barns. They all get sad. I can't get sad about barns. I owe it to myself and to my choir students to not be upset about barns. Are you still with me? Are you still with me, Gus? Huh. Gus is the 32nd most popular dog name. You know the 90th most popular dog name? Oreo. I've actually got another idea. Something that helps me fall asleep is listening to voicemails I receive from friends and family. I've got a few here I'd like to show you.
Hello, Joe. Happy Halloween. It's 20 minutes after 9 on Halloween evening. When you get a chance, give us a call.
Hi, honey. It's Mom. Just saying hello. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Happy birthday, sweetheart. I'm finally getting around to it today. Many, many more, honey. I'll talk to you later. I love you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Joe, this is Charles. I'm playing phone tag with this girl, so, I still haven't heard yet, but I'm feeling the flake coming on. So I will probably be able to go to Phantom of the Opera with you. Alright, bye.
Hey, I just realized. Sheds are little barns.
Hey Joe, it's Elise. It was nice going out with you again last night, but I've got to be straightforward.
Sorry. I've been meaning to delete that one. When we would go out, I would have to wear running sneakers so that I could run home after she gave me a good night kiss. If I didn't tire myself out, I would lie in bed the rest of the night with my eyes like this. Anyhow, after I received that message, I did the same thing I usually do when stuff like that happens. I went to the batting cages. It's tough to worry about women when you're focused on fastballs. And also, it feels good to hit stuff with a bat. Nice. 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 Home run. Another home run. Can I share my secret about the batting cages with you? You let the first pitch hit you so that your adrenaline kicks in, and then you hit the rest of them to the moon. Grand slam. Nice. 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 And once you're done, I promise you'll feel better, understanding that sometimes things just don't work out. Like how it didn't work out for the 1990 to 93 Buffalo Bills who lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, or how it didn't work out for the Buffalo Buffaloes, or the passenger pigeon either, or the Tacoma pupfish, Pyrenean ibex, or Kodak. It didn't work out for this omelet that went cold during an argument, or this underwhelming submission to a pumpkin carving contest. It did work out for my neighbor's son Alan. He got an A. But it didn't work out for the central New York barn, surrounded by condos when it used to be surrounded by corns. Or Robert Adams, who realized 18 years too late that he should have spent more time with his sons instead of going to 3D movies with his friends. And Nelson Webb, dressed so nice, who hates basketball but spent a whole night watching it alone at the bar because her date never showed. Should I call my ex, she thinks? No more second chances. As we know, it didn't work out for Bernie Madoff. That's a good thing. If you break the rules, you go to the penalty box. I wonder what he's thinking about right now. I wonder if he knows we're thinking about him. Does he enjoy falling asleep? At least in his dreams, he could imagine he's not in jail. Anyhow, if you got a crummy day coming up tomorrow, you can just remind yourself, at least I'm not in jail like Bernie Madoff. Maybe you are, I don't know. Sorry. Either way, I hope you're feeling a little bit more relaxed and are ready to hit the hay. I'll join you as soon as the fire dies down and I double check that the gas stove is off. Good night. What do you think, guys? Should we do a late night snack or a big egg breakfast? Joe Pera, and I hope you're someplace warm this winter evening. I'm in my basement. I just put a pot of soup on the stove and came downstairs to record. Making minestrone and a sleep recording in the same evening. What a life. In theory, sleep isn't hard. It's about quiet and dark, not owing anyone an unreasonable amount of money. But even if your debts are manageable, sometimes you need a little help. There were times this year I could have used some myself. And so, in hopes that no one else develops a dependence on Advil PM, I wanted to revisit the old sleep stuff and make something new for you. Kinda like soup. When you get to the end of a ham, you throw the bone in a pot and it's the start of something else. It's not waste if you can boil it. I love that about soup. Another thing I love about soup is that, of all the foods, it is the most believable to me that a good soup or stew could change the course of a story. Say a character is about to die. They give him a sip of really good broth, and then they regain their strength and win the beauty pageant. It's a food that can bring about an immediate change. I mean, what's more believable to you? That you could eat spinach and get as strong as Popeye? Or that you can drink a ladle of hearty soup and get as strong as Black Adam? Glad you feel the same way. One time, soup even stopped the war. For a little while, at least. In 1592, an army of Swiss Catholics were about to fight an army of Swiss Protestants when a large pot of milk soup was brought to the center of the battlefield. And instead of fighting, the two sides hung out and ate soup together. This is a true and charming story, but also, if eating soup comprised mainly of milk and bread changes your mind about going to war, what were you thinking? To the 16th century Swiss listening, you guys gotta ask yourself, do I want to run my neighbor through with a halberd because he's performing mass in vernacular? Or am I just hungry for bread and milk in a pot? The soup that's currently simmering upstairs likely won't stop any wars, but it was enjoyable to make. In case you're interested in the recipe, I started by chopping celery. Some carrot, some onion, I'm a slow chopper. I am a slow chopper. I put them in the pot and let them simmer in olive oil until they turn translucent, about 7 or so minutes. I poured in diced tomatoes, broth, and some water, plus salt, red pepper flakes, and bay leaves. Studies have shown that Advil PM and similar drugs can cause memory loss, so I hope to remember to remove them at the end. After it simmers for 20 or so minutes, I'll add pasta, greens, and beans. And after that, some lemon juice or olive oil and Parmesan rind. But the part right now is my favorite. After chopping, seasoning, and bringing it to a boil, you turn down the burner to low and go sit at the kitchen table while it gently simmers. Sometimes I'll just sit there. Sometimes I'll read a magazine. Sometimes I'll call a friend. Earlier today, I called my friend Jo Firestone. One of her soups went very wrong recently, and I wanted to ask what happened so I wouldn't repeat her mistakes. Hi, Jo.
Hello.
Could you tell us the story of the time you made soup that got you so sick you had to go to the hospital?
I don't know what went wrong, but I think it was because I used celery that was old and also other vegetables that were old. And what happened was it created a storm within me.
Were you upfront with them about what happened when you went into the emergency room?
I said, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That you said my own soup did it?
I said my own soup did it. I did this to myself.
Wow.
So they cuffed me, and then they gave me the right medicine.
As you lay in the hospital, were you upset at the soup?
I think I was upset with myself. You know, when you get poisoned from someone else's cooking,
yeah,
you're upset with them. But when you're poisoned by your own cooking, it comes with a despair that you can't keep yourself alive. That is it takes a little bit longer to get over. What's your next question?
Did the soup taste good at least?
Yeah, it did.
Because you're trying to drift off, let's not dwell on the food poisoning stuff and jump ahead to later in the conversation when Jo shared an interesting soup observation.
Okay, but in Moonstruck, Olympia Dukakis is at a restaurant. She orders the minestrone. And this is when she's about to almost cheat on her husband with the guy from Frasier. And she eats the soup in this amazing way that I can't tell if it's how Olympia Dukakis eats soup or she was like, this is how the character should eat soup.
How did she do it?
She goes to the side of the bowl and dips her spoon in to let in broth and takes the soup spoon back up and brings it to her mouth. But she goes off the edge of the bowl.
Interesting. Why do you think she did it that way?
I think there's two ways. One, maybe it was a continuity issue. The other possibility is that she learned from an early age as a real person that if you go to the side of the bowl and not the middle of the bowl, it's actually cooler. And so it's not as hot because of this soup is actually making contact with a hard surface, a hard cool surface.
Wow.
She's the greatest actor of all time.
Wow. How many times have you watched that movie? I know it's one of your favorites.
I don't know, probably 100. It's so awesome.
For Jo, many things go back to Moonstruck. It's her comfort movie, along with Trolls. I'm not kidding. I'll apologize to her tomorrow for revealing that, but it's too funny not to share. So we're even, Here's an embarrassing thing about me. One time, I drank too much. Moonstruck is a great comfort movie, but I would say my go-to is probably Tombstone, the 1993 Western starring Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer. Tell him I'm coming and hell's coming with me, you hear? Either that or American movie. You want to guess my favorite soup? Sorry, it's actually gumbo. Congrats if you got it right though. You can go to sleep now. If you didn't, you're welcome to stick around. If we continue to talk, I won't start worrying about how things are going with my soup upstairs. Will the flavors come together? Did I add too much salt? Will I eat it and have to go to the hospital like Joe? That thought is hard to get out of my head, but I should try not to think of that. I should think of the other friends I called today, attempting to determine if there is a correlation between people's favorite soups and their favorite comfort movies.
Hello. Hello, Ike. What's your favorite soup and what's your favorite comfort movie?
Let's see. So, favorite soup, I believe, would have to be French onion soup. And then comfort movie, that I think would be The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey. A good comfort watch, I think.
My favorite soup is gazpacho, a nice cold gazpacho, and my favorite comfort film is The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey.
Oh, this is easy. Miso soup and, of course, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey.
I love chicken soup, and my favorite comfort movie is The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey.
So my favorite soup is clam chowder. I'm from New England, and so it's a staple, and I just made my very own homemade clam chowder on Sunday. And to go with that, my favorite comfort movie would be The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey.
In conclusion, I don't think there is a correlation between soup and comfort movies, but perhaps there is between my friends. Also, I think my soup will be fine. I do. I use fresh vegetables. I prepared them properly. And I just remembered another thing Joe told me during our call.
It happened to me again this Thanksgiving, though I poisoned myself again.
You did it again?
Yeah, I made a vegan meatloaf.
So I don't know what my friend is doing in her kitchen, but it has no relation to mine. I do feel that my soup will come out well and will be nourishing when I eat it 3 to 4 times this week. It will have good vitamins and minerals and will keep me warm too. No one will get food poisoning from it. And I hope that you, everyone in your life, everyone in the world even, including Joe, will not get any food poisoning tonight or this week. Bit idealistic, but why not? Food poisoning is really bad. Alright, I've got to go check on my minestrone, so I will wish you good night. I'm sorry to talk about food poisoning so much. Music and sound design by Ryan Dan. Produced by Grant Farsi. Featuring a true soup story by Joe Firestone. This has been Drifting Off with Joe Pera, a Chestnut Walnut production.